Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Tom's Gadget Garage. Today I'm out here on the Apollo Phantom 2.0 in Tempe, Arizona. We're doing a little bit of a night ride. You know, I figure this scooter lights up at night like a Christmas tree, so why not take it out? And that's exactly what we're doing today. Now, unfortunately, it is incredibly windy, so, you know, I hope the audio on this video comes out all right. But whatever, I've got two mics going right now, so hopefully you can hear me with all this wind. Now, one of the things that I love about this scooter is the fact that it's nice, big, and heavy, so it's got a very commanding presence on the road. So when we do have to hit the streets with the scooter, it's got a very confidence-inspiring ride. Come into this turn here. Another cool thing is that it's got these 11-inch by 4-inch fat tires, and 4 inches is a pretty wide tire on this scooter, and they've got a nice rounded profile to them, you know, which makes it really easy to lean deep into turns. All right, right now we're cruising around in sport mode, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn off into here, and we're gonna cruise around the lake area. Yeah, it is absolutely windy tonight. I am recording this video on Insta360 X5, which supposedly has some pretty good nighttime performance, as well as a really good built-in mic, so we'll see how that goes. I've got my DJI Mic 2 recording as well, just in case the in-camera audio is hot garbage. We'll see. Go ahead and make a turn here. It's definitely a lot quieter tonight than it was on some of my last rides out here, that's for sure. Probably because all this wind. Go ahead and go across the pedestrian bridge here. Looks like we got some folks up ahead on rental scooters. This is the rental scooter capital of Arizona. What I'll do is when we get closer to the lake, well, obviously we're riding over the lake right now, but there's a lookout point over there. I'll give you a sneak peek as to what this thing looks like at night. We're officially on the bike path. It's like a bike path, jogging path, rental scooter collision path. And we just drove by some folks and they were like, wow, that's bright. And like I said, this thing lights up like a Christmas tree. Now, I don't know how well you can see it on the display, on the screen I should say, but the display on this scooter is also very bright. I haven't had any issues seeing this both during the day and at night. You know, some people call out this display as being too simplistic for a scooter like this, but I'll be honest with you, I actually really like it. You know, I wear a full-faced helmet when I'm cruising around on scooters like this, and I'm very rarely like looking down at my screen, you know. It's just there. I'm focused on what's around me. But the screen does have some important information, like how much battery you've got left, the speed that you're cruising around at, you know, status of your turn signals and all that fun stuff. But if you do want more data, you can use the Apollo app, which is really nice. It's a full-featured app. It's got everything you need, and the folks over at Apollo are always making updates to that thing, and you can attach it with a quad lock mount there. But anyways, more about this scooter. Like I was mentioning, you know, it's heavy. It's 102 pounds, so it's definitely got some heft to it. But that is a good thing when you're cruising around like this, because it gives you a very commanding ride. You know, there's no issues about the, you know, scooter being squirrely when going over bumpy terrain and stuff like that. It definitely holds its own. Now, the downside of all of that weight is that you've got to lug this thing around. And I will say, you know, it's not the easiest thing to get into the trunk of my car. You know, I got to practice my form, you know, bending over and lifting this thing. Don't want to pull a muscle in my back or anything, which with most of the commuter scooters I test, that's never a concern. So if you're gonna have to lug this thing upstairs and things like that, like flights of stairs, I'll tell you what, you should probably look for something smaller, because this is a big scooter. Now I do park this in the garage, so a lot of my riding is, you know, hopping on, leaving the garage, closing the garage, and heading out. But for today's ride, yeah, I drove out here. As you can see right now, I got my thumb on this regenerative brake here, which is nice. I use this probably for 90+% of my braking. You know, it's perfect for rides like this. But just know that's not like an emergency brake. Like, it will get you stopped relatively quickly, but if you really need to come to a stop quick, I recommend using those manual brake levers. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull into here. I'll show you what this thing looks like with all these lights on here at night. Make sure there's no one behind us. We're good. And there you go, folks. There's our Apollo Phantom 2.0. Super bright. You can see it from the back, from the sides, from the front. You can see the lighting there in front of the neck. It's literally 360 lighting. Of course, you got this stem light here. You've got your headlight. And if you're curious what those turn signals look like, there you go. Very visible in low light conditions. So if you're gonna be cruising around at night, this scooter is all about maximum visibility, which is great from a safety perspective, because I found that one of the most difficult things with night riding is making sure that people see you and are aware of you. You know, I've had tons of people pull out in front of me, which is always unfortunate. I'm gonna go ahead and get us turned around here. We're gonna go back over the pedestrian bridge, and we're gonna go towards the buildings there on the other side. And there's a route and a very long bike path that we can cruise around on. So this Apollo Phantom has got 3,500 watts of peak power, you know, and I think it's about 3,120 watts of nominal power. So more than enough juice for me. You know, I've had a lot of people reach out, you know, asking, hey, should I get this 52 volt version, or should I wait for the Stellar Edition, the 60 volt version? Well, I'll tell you what, you know, for my own purposes, this 52 volt version is really more than enough power than I'll ever need. I'll put a link in the description to my mountain climb video where I took this up 17 miles of windy mountain roads, and this thing handled that thing absolutely beautifully. No issues at all whatsoever. As you can see, this place is very well lit up at night, which makes it a fun place to ride when doing these night rides, that's for sure. By my house, it's just dark and boring, you know, so I make the, you know, 30, 35 minute drive out here. Go enjoy the city lights. We'll zip around through here, get around these folks. But yeah, I mean, if you'd like to learn more about this scooter, I will include a link to my entire video series that I'm in the middle of filming right now. So you can check that out in the description below. Zip around here. This is a nice area. You got winding roads, little hills going up and down. Always nice to tackle these on a scooter with ample power. Now 3,500 watts is no joke. I mean, so far I think I've gotten up to 42 miles an hour on this scooter. I will be doing a full top speed and acceleration test. I tried doing that early on when I got it, and I was having issues with my draggy GPS performance monitor. And yeah, and then, you know, every time I want to go out and do the tests again, I run into issues with it being windy, like today, you know, or I think today we got like 20 to 30 mile an hour wind gusts and stuff like that. And so I try and do these top speed and acceleration tests on days where there isn't much wind. And you saw me use the bell back there. This scooter doesn't have a horn. So, you know, if you're looking for a horn, you'll have to get an aftermarket horn, because this scooter comes with a bell, which, you know, is great for like little, you know, high density, high traffic pedestrian areas, but it's definitely not going to get attention from cars. You know, sometimes you cruise around on the streets, you gotta, engage a nice loud horn for people inside their cars to hear, and this scooter just doesn't have that. So hopefully in a future iteration, I think the folks at Apollo said that they're working through some third-party horns right now, and you'll be able to attach that as an accessory. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they choose. All right, so this is gonna turn into some hard-packed dirt here. Then up ahead, we'll have a little bit of a hill climb test. See how this does on a 12% grade. We'll do it from a standstill in sport mode. This scooter does have Ludo mode, by the way, so you just tap that power button 3 times. Now just keep in mind, when you're in Ludo mode, you can't like change gears like you normally would. So, I've seen some folks post online like they're in Ludo mode, but they have no ability to change gears. That's because you're in Ludo mode. So you just tap out of Ludo mode 1, 2, 3 to deactivate it, and then you can go hop back into whatever gear you'd like. All right, this is our 12% grade. I've taken several scooters and bikes on this. We'll go ahead and start it right here. It's actually, we're starting out an incline. So here we go. And we are cranking up from a standstill, and we're picking up power. No problem at all. Now, if you go into Ludo mode, yeah, you know what? Just for giggles, let's try that again with Ludo mode enabled. This is the regenerative brake, by the way. We're going down a 12% grade, and it's able to bring us almost to a complete stop. So that comes to show how strong this regen brake is on this scooter, All right. So we'll do the same thing. We'll start on this incline right here. I'm gonna 1, 2, 3. We're officially in Ludo mode, and let's get started. Yeah, you can definitely feel the difference. We're picking up speed a heck of a lot faster. There you go. That's Ludo mode, folks, for you. It's not just gonna give you more top speed, it's also gonna give you more torque and acceleration. So if you're cruising around on particularly steep hills, think like San Francisco style hills, Ludo mode is gonna give you the best way to get out of that. All right, so I just turned off Ludo mode. We're back in sport mode, which is mode 3 on this scooter. And we're on the bicycle path. So right now I'm cruising around in this area. Got my finger, ready on the manual brakes in case something pops out, Sometimes you got coyotes and stuff running around out here. Up ahead, we'll have some barriers on both sides, which should help prevent some of that. But you always want to be cautious when you're cruising around on these things. But yeah, this Apollo Phantom has got a very stable ride to it. I think part of that has to do with the weight. Some of it has to do with the rake angle and the geometry of the steering relative to the wheel and everything they did on this. And so I'm happy with that. Sometimes you take scooters, up to high 20s, going into the 30s. Sometimes things can get a little hairy, Start getting wobbles and stuff like that, or the precursors to wobbles. And I am not interested in speed wobbles, I'll tell you that right now. What I want to do is take us to a tunnel. There's a little tunnel area that's got some washboard type concrete at the end of the tunnel, which I got some pretty intense vibrations out of another scooter I'm testing, the 9bot Max G3. That scooter's got, hydraulic suspension and all that fun stuff, but when you go over like washboard surfaces or like cobblestone type surfaces, you do get some pretty intense vibration that you can feel through the entire scooter. So we'll see if we get the same thing with this scooter, with the coil spring. So this particular scooter, being the 52 volt, does not have hydraulic suspension. That's going to be reserved for the 60 volt Stellar Edition. Good news here is that you can easily swap in your own hydraulic suspension if you want it. With that being said, for my purposes, I find this coil spring suspension to be more than sufficient. I have no issues at all whatsoever with this suspension. It does a very good job. It does have some spring to it, so it's not gonna have kind of that mushy give that you get with hydraulic suspension. It's gonna be a little more on the springy side. But I found that to be really good, especially when it comes to handling, so I don't know. When they come out with the Stellar Edition, they start selling what they put on there for hydraulic suspension, maybe I'll swap them out and do a test. All right, we're gonna come through this tunneled area. Our regen brakes in action. As you can see, slow us down, no problem at all. And yeah, I mean, this tunnel area, as you can see, this is how like a Unsolved Mysteries episode starts, you know, with John Walsh. Oh, they've got some lighting in here, but it's still pretty sketchy sometimes. As you can see, there is very little foot traffic through here. I'll be interested to see how the battery is doing on this camera. I only have one battery, so we'll check that out once we get to that tunnel area. And right through there. All right, so as you can see, look at this bike lane. This thing is huge. It's fantastic. I love that they do this out here. You know, you got the freeway to the right, you got other roads far out to the left, and then right here in the middle, you've got this huge bike path which just goes for miles and miles and miles, which I absolutely love. And as you can see, you know, we're cruising around 30 plus right now. Very stable ride, very quiet ride. Suspension's nice and quiet. Steering is solid, no issues at all whatsoever. And even though this scooter's got 3,500 watts of peak power, it's got a very quiet ride. You don't have like loud droning of the tires or loud motor noise or anything like that. It's just overall a very smooth riding experience. All right, let's see, where are we going? I think this is our tunnel area up ahead. I think we make a right up here. Yes, we are here. Just loop around here. And we'll see how this suspension does at the end of the tunnel. Here we go. At the end, it's washboard. We'll see if I get the same kind of vibration out of this suspension as I got as the Max G3. A little bit, but I mean, this actually absorbs all that a heck of a lot better, even with straight coil springs. So, as you can see, you know, some people are like, oh man, it should have hydraulic suspension. It would be great to see hydraulic suspension on a scooter like this, but more recently I've seen companies do a very good job with their coil spring suspension. You know, and this scooter here has got a really good feel to it. I like it. It's confidence inspiring. Another scooter that I tested out that also has a phenomenal coil spring suspension is the Nami Super Stellar. More to come on that. That's obviously a smaller scooter, a little bit more portable. Doesn't light up like this though. All right, we'll swing around here. Super smooth ride. Nice roads too. We'll go straight, we'll loop around, and we'll head back in the other direction. Use our regen brake. As you can see, in sport mode, we're maxing out the speed around 33, 34 miles an hour. No problem at all. All right. Throttle's all the way in sport mode. And we're cruising. Oh, I love it. I love this scooter. Let's see, we'll continue on straight. And we'll go around the roundabout and we'll come back through the tunnel again. We'll cross that parking lot. Nice rounded profile on these tires gives you the opportunity to lean a heck of a lot deeper into your turns. Sometimes these higher performance scooters have tires that are squared off, which are great, you know, for straight line performance, but they're a little bit hairy when taking, you know, deep turns, leaning deep into turns. With these rounded off profile tires, you've got more of a contact patch when you're deep in that turn. Back through the tunnel. See how it feels on this side. Whoo! Yeah, you can definitely feel the vibration, but it's more pleasant than the other scooter I tested through here. So yeah, sport mode I think has got the top speed of 34 miles an hour. And that's a very comfortable riding speed on this scooter. You know me, I'm not particularly a speed demon, and so I'm more than happy with this. And if I need it, I need to get out of a hairy situation, or I need to get ahead of something quickly, I've always got Ludo we can always tap into to kind of push the envelope even further. Now, I'm not going to be going too crazy with speed today because I've actually got surgery this coming Friday, the 16th. Got to get my gallbladder removed. Unfortunately, it's been falling apart on me over the last couple years, and this past several weeks have been pretty brutal with gallbladder pain and stuff. And so finally made the decision for them to lop that out. We're cruising back through what I call the unsolved mysteries area. You know, this paved surface has got some expansion joints between the concrete sections, and this scooter's doing a really good job of absorbing a lot of that. All right, what do we got? People on scooters, maybe bikes? Maybe bikes? Looks like bikes. Yeah, those are bikes. One of the things that I really like about the Apollo Phantom 2.0 as well as the Apollo Go is they both have relatively long decks compared to their width, which gives you really good possibilities when it comes to foot positioning on these scooters. So with this one here, I've got my right foot forward, my rear foot on the kick plate. And so I've got miles and miles of room on here. Makes for a very comfortable riding position. You know, some scooters have kind of a more cramped deck or even no kick plate at all, which kind of forces you into a single position. With this, I can ride more relaxed, you know, cruising around in the city, slower speeds, or I can get that rear foot up on the kick plate for even better control of the scooter and better foot placement. All right, if you're curious what this regen brake looks like at 28 miles an hour, we're gonna go ahead and try it in 3, 2, 1, go. So that's full regen. As you can see, it slowed us down pretty decent. So for nice planned stops, that's perfect. And you can go into the app and change the regenerative brake setting. I think I've got it on 6 or 7. I believe it goes to 10. If you set it to maximum, that's going to give you the most amount of regen braking, which is basically both the front and rear motor doing the stopping for you. And one of the really nice things about these regen brakes is they help preserve the life of your manual brakes. This scooter's got cable actuated disc brakes. You know, a lot of scooters this size, this price point will have hydraulic brakes. This one does not. The 60 volt Stellar will. You know, so if you want upgraded brakes, you can do that. You can always upgrade this to hydraulic brakes at a later point in time if you want. Looks like we got folks on a one wheel and a scooter, or not a one wheel, electric unicycle and a scooter. But anyways, cable actuated brakes. Once we move up ahead a little further, we'll do a quick brake test. And anytime you have to hit these manual brakes in a hurry, always lean your weight back. You do not want to go over the handlebars of a scooter. All right, we're gonna go ahead and test the brakes in 3, 2, 1, go. Oh yeah, plenty of stopping power. We'll go ahead and do that again in 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, if you want to lock out the tires, you absolutely can. Generally speaking, you don't want to lock out your tires, because when you do, that just means you've lost traction and control of the scooter. And so, you know, in an ideal world, you'll be able to apply maximum braking power without locking up your tires. And so if you need to stop in a hurry, that's what you want to do. Apply as much brake force as possible without locking them up. But yeah, that 60 volt version, the Stellar, that should be an exciting one. That'll have the hydraulic suspension, that'll have the hydraulic brakes. It's 60 volt, 30 amp hour battery, I believe, so it's a bigger battery. This one here is 52 volt, 27 amp hour, which is 1,404 watt hours of capacity. Here's our regen brake doing all the work for us. It's clear. Get turned around. So big battery. Like I said, I did do a range test in sport mode, so if you want to see that, it'll be linked in the description below. You'll see my whole video series. But I am considering doing another range test with this in mode 2, and so we'll see how it does. A little hill up ahead, and look at these buildings. They're beautifully lit. Always exciting stuff to see out here. Makes the rides a million times more interesting. Maybe we'll ride on this walk here. This is it's like a paver surface. Suspension's doing a good job of dampening all this. And then up ahead, it'll turn into hard-packed dirt. The scooter does have a kind of hybrid tread pattern, so it's good for riding both on and off the beaten path. But yeah, I am noticing, like, I think this light is pretty blinding for folks. I've passed by a couple folks that commented on how bright the lights were. But you know, that's all about my safety. That's what I gotta be focused on. If you do want to turn these lights off, you just double click the M button. It'll turn those off, and as you can see, it just got darker around us. Double click again, it'll turn those back on. So what we'll do is hop back on the streets. Looks like I got the sprinklers going over there. I'm not going to ride through that. This scooter does have an IP66 water resistance rating, which is one of the highest ratings on the market for electric scooters, which means it could withstand water ingress from high pressure water jets. So that's always nice. I generally don't recommend riding in rainy conditions or wet conditions, only because these companies, they don't cover water damage, you know. They don't know if you rode around in rainy conditions or if you decided to turn your scooter into a submarine. So I get it. All right, we'll zoom through here. We'll head out onto the street. Maybe we'll pop it into Ludo mode for a second, then we'll head back to the parking garage. But yeah, you know, to answer the question, which I get a lot, is should I get the 52 volt or the 60 volt? Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, for me, the 52 volt meets all of my needs, actually exceeds all of my expectations. It is more scooter than I think I ever need. But it's nice to have that, because if I ever need that performance, I've got it in my back pocket. You know, for those of you who are more of a, you know, adrenaline junkies, that's great. You've got the 60 volt version. You know, that's gonna provide significantly more power. All right, folks. Got us in Ludo. We're cruising around on the streets right now. Got to be careful. People turning. Kind of bumpy road here. Plenty fast. Slow down a bit. The road gets a little hairy here. Lean into this turn and throttle all the way in up this hill, and we're picking up speed. Just in time for a bus to pull out in front of us. All right, go through this roundabout here. Coast is clear. All right, there's our parking structure. Go ahead and pull into here. See how this scooter does. Coming up the parking garage. Like I said, we're still in Ludo, and yeah, it's got plenty of power. I'm always weirded out by these low ceilings because I'm afraid I'm gonna like smash my head into these and get knocked out cold and end up waking up with all my stuff gone. Yeah, these ceilings are low. All right, folks, so there you have it. That was our night ride out here in Tempe, Arizona. In terms of battery, we went about 15.7 miles, mostly in sport mode. We dabbled in Ludo a little bit there at the end, and we've still got 48% battery remaining, so pretty respectable battery performance. You know, like I said, I did that range test, but I did come out here another day during the daytime, and I was riding around almost entirely in Ludo mode, and we also got pretty decent performance out of that. But you can check out all those videos in the description below. But let me know if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns. Happy to address those. And if you do want to pick up one of these scooters, I will include an affiliate link in the description as well as a coupon to help out with that price. But anyways, thank you so much for tuning into Tom's Gadget Garage. We'll see you next time.